This has been a generous congregation all along and always. One of the statements that is always just echoed here is that you can't outgive God. But this congregation has tried.
The Cedar Rapids, Iowa congregation of the Community of Christ was founded over 100 years ago.
My name is Dave Loy. I'm the pastor here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. I was born in Decorah, Iowa, but raised here in Cedar Rapids since I was 3. And so this is the home congregation. And matter of fact, there's still people that are here that say that they changed my diaper.
Dave is a full-time pastor whose salary is underwritten by the congregation.
This congregation has been very generous in allowing me to both work with them and work outside in the community in many different ways, through community outreach, but also to get involved with community organizations that are working and to be on boards of different nonprofit organizations, which I've done readily.
The close working relationships between the congregation and its nonprofit community service agency partners were unexpectedly tested when
it was, I would have to say, June 13th when it really all became real. My husband called me and he said, "You have to call my sisters, see if they're okay, see if they're okay." And it was pouring down rain that day.
June 2008. Summer rains turn threatening. When the oversaturated earth can hold no more water, rivers rise. The Midwest experiences record flooding. The eastern Iowa city of Cedar Rapids, population 120,000, is one of the worst hit.
The general thinking was that the flood stage would reach somewhere around 21 feet at the most. Unfortunately, throughout the night, that changed very rapidly, and it topped out at 31 feet.
News coverage was everywhere. That's all it was. It showed where it was coming. It showed downtown. The water was rising fast. People were being evacuated. We kept waiting to see if we were going to be evacuated.
1,300 square blocks were flooded, and to a level that no one ever expected or was prepared for. There were 26,000 people that were evacuated and basically out of their homes for days. And the number of homes that have been decimated by the floodwaters themselves and the residual from the floodwaters has been roughly 5,000 families that are still displaced in Cedar Rapids.
A lot of families lost not only their home but their jobs. There were over 500 businesses in the downtown area that are not operational, still have not been able to get building permits.
The congregation immediately offered temporary office space to community partners displaced by flooding. These organizations quickly resumed their operations during the time of greatest need.
I never dreamed that I would be a pastor that would call asking for oblation funds on this scale. But the response was instantaneous and tremendous.
The World Church Oblation Fund represents the donations of Community of Christ members and friends from around the world. A $10,000 grant from this fund bought cleanup supplies and provided initial rent and utility deposits for people displaced from their homes. Partner organizations identified those who needed help.
At first, everyone was in kind of a sense of shock. So we did a lot of things like putting cleaning kits together and helping people get back in just to assess what was wrong with their home.
This wasn't just water that came through. This was all manner of waste, including human waste. In some cases, the mold that has grown to toxic levels, to where you've had to throw out things that you never thought you would have to. Things that are very precious to you having to be thrown. There was tools that was necessary to buy so that people could start tearing into their homes, tearing down drywall and so forth. And so we purchased tools.
Community of Christ and the Partnership for Safe Families paid 1 month of our rent in our new house, so that we weren't worrying about it in 2 weeks after we got in there, that we could move forward. And we have totes that had kitchen supplies and bathroom supplies and stuff, and I was able to get the totes for each room so that we could put a house back together.
The Cedar Rapids congregation dedicated $20,000 from its financial reserves to the relief effort. Volunteers purchased and filled totes with household supplies for displaced people equipping new homes. One young mother who received totes also helped shop for and assemble them.
Here's a family who lost everything, and the day that we were packing up the clothes and the totes to give to other families, Lindsay was here.
The church needed the help of volunteers, so I just thought that it would be a great way to pay back.
We've also received money from other congregations around the U.S. There was a congregation in southern Texas that sent us funds. There was one in the Omaha area that sent us funds. It gives you an understanding that you're not an island all by itself. You are part of a network and a community, a greater community of Christ.
Though recovery has begun, it will take years of work.
People are still taking the wood out of their houses. And you can drive around anywhere in the area and you'll see just piles and piles of stuff.
The Cedar Rapids Community of Christ congregation is dedicated to being an active part of the recovery effort, no matter how long it takes.
People know that this is a church that you can call and they respond.
$5,000 in World Church Oblation assistance was donated to local health care provider, the Community Health Free Clinic. Many people whose jobs and other financial resources were wiped out by the flooding urgently needed the clinic's help, straining limited resources.
We're going to be able to deliver a check to Darlene Schmidt, who is the director of that. And it's going to be presented by two of the nurses in the congregation that volunteer at the free clinic. We have seen such a tremendous outpouring from people to help. It's been unbelievable in many ways.
I've learned that through personal experience that this congregation helps, no matter what other people's situations are. Even if we're in a bad situation, it's still something that we do. And it's just amazing. That's part of the reason that I became a member, is that the love here in this building in particular is just amazing.
Members of the congregation walked homeless pets, baked over 70 dozen cookies for relief workers and emergency personnel, and sacked 3,000 meals for those displaced. But perhaps the biggest project was collecting, sorting, and distributing donated clothing.
All of our community clothing closets were also eliminated. So we're just saying anybody who needs clothing, come, we've got it for you.
We received tons, literally tons of clothes offered from states across the United States. So we accepted it, and we set up a process and asked for volunteers within the congregation and also in the community to come and sort. And so we've taken those clothes and we have sorted through them. And so we put them in boxes and have stored it in an off-site location until such time as it was time to do a giveaway. And we ourselves here within our building, with all the help that we've received, have put together over 850 boxes of clothing.
Clothing was distributed in August as part of a giveaway that assisted more than 1,200 people. And that's just a fraction of those who have experienced the generosity of the Cedar Rapids congregation, the worldwide community of Christ, and others beyond number.
I appreciate them so much. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. I appreciate them so much, and I thank them so much.
I've just been incredibly impressed with the mission of this church and what the people have done in this church. And I just can't begin to thank them enough. And there's a whole line of people behind me that will say the same thing.
Recovery efforts in Cedar Rapids were made possible in part thanks to your generous giving to Community of Christ World Ministries and Oblation. Find updates on Cedar Rapids recovery and contribute online anytime at cofchrist.org/mission.